All right, so hello everyone. Happy Thursday. So super excited for today, and we are on episode 2 of Personality Plus. And so for those of you that do not know me, my name is Brianna Anninger, and I am passionate about empowering and inspiring people just like you to truly wake up and live. So if you are catching this live, go ahead and comment 1, that if you're live, and 2, if you are catching the replay. And also, I would love to hear where you are tuning in from. So go ahead and comment maybe what the weather is where you are and where you are. Hi Amanda, thank you so much for joining. So I'm super excited to share this with you guys. I think it's going to be very helpful. It applies to marriages, but if you're not married or you're not in a relationship, I still want you to tune in and kind of learn these principles because it helps with all different relationships, like a brother-sister, mother-father. So don't just... This series is about, marriage. So if I say this is for a marriage, just don't think that it doesn't apply to you because it does, okay? So we are on episode 2, which is chapter 2, and it is the rhythm of a moral marriage or rhythm of a moral relationship. So in the beginning, I talked about, have you rode a seesaw? Maybe as a child you might have rode it, or maybe you've seen a child ride the seesaw. So if you have rode a seesaw, go ahead and comment 3. If you haven't rode a seesaw, go ahead and comment 4. And so what I want you to think about is how this pertains to a relationship. So when you are in a relationship, you usually, one person is up and one person is down. So you're going like this, right? And sometimes it's a fun experience because sometimes when the person's up, you're happy for that person that they're up, right? And when the person's down, this person is up because this one's trying to help this person come up. And then you have this balance. So you're striving for your relationship to be balanced. But sometimes, unfortunately, what happens? We have conflict, right? And when it comes to this book about Personality Plus, our personalities are conflicting, especially people that are opposites. So for instance, like I said before, that I'm melancholic choleric and Mike is sanguine phlegmatic. So sometimes we have that tendency to have that conflict. And I'm going to say that I pushed Mike off that seesaw, okay? Whoa, give me the wow faces for that one, right? So I want to be as transparent and truthful to you guys so you guys can know, how I've grown, and I want to help other people grow too. So, for instance, let me give you an example. That with Mike being sometimes that sanguine and me being that melancholic, sanguines are those life of the party. Melancholic people are very, I would say, more like strict and just kind of want to be kind of in the background a little bit like the phlegmatic, like I was talking about, but they're more of that, it's black or white, there's no gray, right? So with Mike, he's like, I want to have fun, I want to go and talk to people, and that, and for me, sometimes, like, he is too loud, right? So what happens is that I get embarrassed, okay? And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then I start getting maybe like uncomfortable. I get angry. And maybe I say some hurtful things, okay? So then what happens? Mike falls off that seesaw, right? And then what I don't realize is that when he falls off, that he's bruised. He's hurt. But for me, I'm in that angry stage, right? So I unfortunately in that moment don't care that he's hurt. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that, right? So what we don't realize that when we're on that seesaw, that when someone falls and gets hurt, we don't realize how hurt they get hurt, right? And then what happens? They get back on that seesaw and we're going up and down, up and down, up and down. But then what happens? They get fallen off again, or maybe the other person falls. And then what happens is this becomes this kind of like merry-go-round kind of thing where it's like you're going up, down, and then what happens? People decide that they don't want to be on that seesaw anymore. And then unfortunately we get a lot of divorces. Because what happens is that we don't want to reflect in ourselves and see what's going on with us. We'd rather blame our spouse or the other person in the relationship. So what I want to talk about in this broadcast is that, hi Debbie, so glad that you're joining, that we need to have that reflection of ourselves and figure out, I feel like a lot of times, for instance, this is kind of funny, they use this in the book, is that we say, God, why don't you change my spouse? Why do they have to act this way? And instead what we need to be asking God is that, God, change me. Because it's kind of like a dominoes effect that when one person changes, the other person kind of has to change, right? We have to kind of conform. So I want to encourage you that next time maybe that your spouse or the person that you're in a relationship, that you're upset with them, to kind of stop for a second and be like, why am I upset with them? Like, is it a trigger, maybe, from a past experience as to why you are feeling the way that you're feeling? And when you stop in that moment and you kind of self-reflect, you won't be as upset. You'll be able to have that understanding, because in the book it talks about that the reason why we have conflicts is because we are emotional. And when we're emotional, we don't understand the one that we love. Okay, so when we take that moment to kind of stop for a second and we really self-reflect and we figure out why we're doing or why we're acting the way that we're acting. And yes, it is hard to do. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy to do, because it's not. But if you do take that time, I promise you that you will not have as many conflicts in your relationship, and there will be this connection and passion and love that you will never have experienced before, because you guys have became to an understanding, to understand each other of why you guys react the way that you react. Okay? Oh, I'm glad that you're enjoying this, Amanda. So if you're finding this helpful, I would appreciate it if you comment helpful, just so I can know that you guys are understanding what I'm saying, because sometimes, talking to a camera is a little weird. But I love doing these Facebook Lives, and I love interacting, and I love learning and sharing what I learn, okay? So we're appreciating our differences, and then the last thing is that I want you to think about these. Oh, hi Cheryl, I'm so happy that you joined. I didn't notice. So the last thing is I want to talk about is these 4 personalities. I want you to think about them as your heart. So how many chambers do we have of our heart? Did you guys comment below? So just as many chambers as that we have in our heart is how many there are the personalities in the book, okay? So we have 4 chambers. So we have 4 personalities. And I want you to think about how our heart works and how the chambers work, okay? We have to have those 4 chambers in order for our circulatory system to work properly. So the same thing is that we need to have all 4 personalities to make our relationship work. So like I said in the first episode, that we all have these 4 personalities. We just have one that is more major and one that is minor. But when we look at it in a big picture, we need all four personalities to make a relationship work. And I want to leave you guys with this. Just read this part in the chapter. It's at the end of the chapter, and it just really spoke to me. But it says, just as all 4 heart chambers are essential to a balanced, well-functioning circulatory system, and therefore to biological life itself, the 4 personalities are essential to well-balanced human condition. A combination of different personalities sustains the health and the prosperity of your family, our church, our country, and ultimately the entire human race. The analogy shows us that like the beating of our hearts, a steady rhythm of give and take, is at the heart of every good marriage or relationship, okay? So I'm so excited that you guys joined me today, and it really spoke to my heart, and I just wanted to share it with you. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., we are going to talk about when cymbals crash. So I want you to implement what we learned today. And if you feel comfortable to message me and let me know how it has helped you, I would really love to hear that feedback. And if you are thinking of somebody when you were listening to this broadcast, go ahead and share this broadcast with them, okay? And I want you to be that best version of you today and have a striving relationship, okay? I'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bye.